Joe here from Joyfulness Productions. I'm kind of doing something a little bit different today. I did have a video this scheduling out for the home recording studio revolution track that we got going on. As you probably see, I'm kind of going off script. I really don't have a script today. I'm here waiting on my wife for some on some things. The reason I felt moved to do this video, because for some of us Gen Xers, it's a bad week. I mean, a week that couldn't get any worse. It seems like the way some people would say it, the Grim Reaper is having a field day this week. Somebody let him out of his cage, just to say the least. First of all, on Monday, I heard the news of Malcolm Jamal Warner. Died at the age of 55. So me and him were kind of like about the same age. If anybody who knows anything about late 80s, early 90s pop culture, he was commonly known as Theo, or Theodore Huxtable. So everybody called him Theo. Obviously that was mainly what he was known for. But even though he kept acting throughout the rest of his life, the last TV show I saw him on, which was about a few years ago, it was called The Resident. That was on Fox. He was portrayed as this surgeon who was like at the top of his game. They called him the Raptor. So he looked a little bigger, he looked a little different, but he was still the same guy. But what makes him, to me, a little bit more special is because he too was a musician. I think it was in the mid 90s or something like that, after the Cosby Show ended, and he started a new show called Malcolm and Eddie, which featured Eddie Griffin. They were doing an interview on him, and he was a musician. He liked jazz. So and plus, as of this week, the bass community was out in force and mourning for him. Because he was a fellow bass player, a low note brother. So when he died, I was like, wow, that's bad. Feel sorry. Then the ultimate news dropped the following day. And who was that? Our beloved John Michael Osborne, or Ozzy as everybody knew him as. 2 weeks after he did Back to the Beginning. Now, some people are going to say, well, you're a Christian and you're putting Ozzy on a pedestal. Well, let me tell you something. There's some things I know that not everybody knows. Even some of the Christian community started rejoicing over his death, which I kind of got on some people about. I said, man, y'all not in the right headspace here, because I even in the Bible teaches about that kind of an attitude. Don't do that, because all you can be honest with you, as someone who's kind of been burned by people and heard that those people passed away, I'll be honest with you. It sucks when somebody dies, and relishing over it makes you look less than. Let's just keep it at that. So Ozzy Osbourne died 2 weeks after that big concert, and it's amazing that he ended it with a bang. It was really good. It was sad. It sucked. Because, Ozzy did the one thing that most rockers won't do, and that's become vulnerable. I mean, anybody who's followed Ozzy and the Osbournes, they're gonna tell you, wow, there's more. Boy, this guy is being an open book, man. That's cool. One thing I liked about I really didn't watch much of the Osbournes, but I did watch a reality show that they had. It was called, that Jack and Ozzy had, which was called Jack and Ozzy's World Detour. That one intrigued me because they went to places and they talked about certain parts of history, and they went to go see certain places. which is interesting because I like to travel, and you know, I like to go places, and I'm interested in of interesting places and things. So that was what, you know. So anybody who's come to know Ozzy knows that this guy's an open book, and that's why he was more loved in the end than he was in the beginning. And sadly, on the same day, even though the news of Ozzy's death overshadowed that, not very many people remember. But I know all the old crooners will remember this guy, Chuck Mangione. His song called "Feeling Fine." He was actually a horn player. I thought it was a trumpet, but it was a flugelhorn that he used to play a song. Na 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 na. I remember that as a kid, and I thought that was so cool back then, man. He died at age 84, so he was the oldest out of all of them. Then this guy's not a musician, but I like what Bad Brad said about him. He was just as much, the way this guy lived was just as much as a rock star. Terry Gene Bollea, or Hulk Hogan as we know him as. When I was a kid, obviously I was into wrestling. I loved wrestling. I loved Macho Man. I loved, you know, the Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, obviously. And also I got into the newer ones like The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Sting, Goldberg, all those dudes. But Hulk was like eternal. I mean, he went from being the Hulkster, Hulkamania, and all of a sudden becoming a villain with New World Order, then going back to what he used to be. And guess what? He was good, and obviously, as probably, you know, as probably what people probably would have poo-pooed on was the fact of him being at Trump's rally. He did the shirt ripping as usual, and that was epic. So, you know, the Hulkster passed away, and I guess to round this week off, I hope no more deaths after this. A band that was pretty. I mean, their music is still being played here in the United States. Their music is still well known. It was a band out of Holland, and that band was called Golden Earring, and they had a song called Radar Love. And probably for some of us 90s guys, or some of us early 80s guys and stuff, we've heard a band called White Lion cover that tune. They covered Radar Love. But the guitar player, George Koymans, he died. Now, so this is a whole big deal. Everybody dies. No, but this one kind of impacted me in a sense. You're probably thinking, well, how did it impact you in a sense? Because you're a guitar player? No. Not only because I was a guitar player. I had a friend that passed away because of ALS. Lou Gehrig's disease. You know, he's walking, he's probably, you know, he's doing his thing, and all of a sudden he started, you know, when I started to see that degenerative disease taking hold of him, he would tell me, you know, Joe, there's times I had a hard time trying to hold the soap, you know. And then the last time I saw my friend, he was kind of like, almost like he walking on his tippy toes with his arms out like that, and this was at his 40th anniversary of him and his 30th, 25th, yeah, 25th, with his wife, Marilu. And two weeks later, or a month later, he passed away. And George Koymans was a good player. I mean, songwriter, and he was also the co-singer on their '86 hit, which was called Twilight Zone. That song I would love to redo one of these days, but obviously put a little more flash in the guitar playing once I get my guitar skills up. Thanks to this book that I went and bought at the Guitar Center over in Katy, since I'm a little closer to Katy this time. Once in a while I'll go to Katy. Because I'm in the energy corridor of Houston, which is central downtown. Anyways, George Koymans, he formed Golden Earring and made the band what it was. And I kind of knew from years ago that when they announced that they were having their final tour, and he would say he was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, with ALS. So I could imagine all the pain that he was going through, the fight every day just to maintain his digit control, what they call it. And his spoke to me a lot, because I thought about my friend, and it hurt. So a lot of us there are Gen Xers that kind of grew up with those icons like Ozzy. I mean, definitely Ozzy was pretty much like, pfft. But the whole thing with Hulk Hogan also, I mean, that was another severe one. So one thing I'm going to say is that even though, to me, my icons may have passed away, however, I'm going to continue to respect, to pay homage to those guys. Those guys in this week was what represented the era that I grew up in. So I hope that no more of these kinds of deaths pass through. So anyways, I hope you all have it good. Next week we'll get back to the videos, because I posted a lot this week, and more than I wanted to. So like I said, next week the video, the home studio recording revolution series will continue as usual. I just felt I needed to get this off my chest. So remember, like, share, and subscribe, okay? And for sure hit the notifications button, so that way you can know when that video drops, okay? So till the next time.